What's up? Welcome to
Thinking
episode
wealthy.
9.
Oh, I thought you were
Thinking
saying-
Wealthy. Here we are, bro.
Episode 9.
Today is a great day.
It is a great day.
I'm so excited.
It's the long awaited
Oh, we've been teasing this for weeks now.
for weeks.
Those who watched episode 3, they probably don't remember, but I remember.
We remember.
We brought this up
We
episode
said
3.
it for a reason.
Today's a big day. But before we jump into that, what's the name of this episode?
The episode is called Owen Speaks.
Owen Speaks.
Because we got Owen.
Oh, who's Owen? Well,
Actually, who is Owen?
you wanna introduce yourself real fast, Owen? Tell us what your name is.
All right, y'all. I'm Owen.
All right.
Hi. I work with Nick at Starbucks. Do they know
Used
that?
to work with me.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
So I met
We
these
used to
guys
all
at work.
together.
And I'm 18 years old. I'm a senior in high school. Pretty into self-development here and a big fan of the podcast. So
Big fans.
the boys let me come on here and talk about some NFTs today. So that's what we're gonna get into.
We're gonna get into NFTs. We're gonna get into more just like what Owen thinks about them. I'm a bit of a newbie to understanding NFTs, so I'm hoping in today's episode I'll learn a bit more. And hopefully, as I learn a bit more, you guys are gonna learn a bit more too. You know what I mean? But
Shut
yeah.
up, bro. It's Monday. Okay.
Okay.
6 a.m. These people are awake, and we got a fee. All right.
We
have a fee.
There's a
Now,
fee.
this ain't no monetary fee. Okay.
Uh-huh.
This is a simple fee. This is an information exchange. All
Info
right. If you got
exchange.
anything from this episode at all, if you laughed, if you smiled, if you learned something new perspective, any of that, I want you guys to go tell somebody. This is
Go
how we
tell
grow
them.
this show. You gotta tell people. All right. We don't run any ads. We're never gonna run ads on here. We're not gonna force you to buy a course. None of that. We're gonna be like, yo. Go tell somebody. We can grow. We'll always bring you good content, good information, and that's our goal, is to make you guys grow. So in return, you guys help us grow. Anyways, let's jump into it. Let's go.
So first we want to do a little bit of Owen introduction. Let's get a little bit more. We'll dive
That's
into it a
right.
bit more.
Okay.
So we already covered how old you are. Just so you guys know, we got some questions here. But so let's ask, why are you so interested in self-development? Like, what kind of got you into it?
So I've always been kind of focused on how I'm going to direct my life. Even since middle school, where I was taking a STEM class, and I was like, do I even want to major in STEM when I'm older, or pursue a profession in
Right.
STEM? And now I'm graduating college, graduating high school, getting ready to go to college, and I'm thinking about how I want to direct my life. And so I'm always trying to level up and, kind of live up to my potential. So that's
That's what we're trying to see. All right. So, and yeah, I kind of relate to that as well. I think a lot of people relate to, I feel like STEM's kind of the big thing, you know what I mean? Like, everyone's always talking about, like my parents are always pushing, like, you can be a STEM major, you know what I mean? Like, all the time. So I told my mom I was going to be econ major, and she was kind of like, huh? You know what I mean? Like, she was not about that, because she wanted me to do STEM. So it's like, for you guys out there is other options, even though a lot of times parents push for that STEM, that big money making degree. But it takes you like 8 years, so,
One thing I want to point out about Owen, this is one of the few kids I've seen in life, who's actually about this. You know what I'm
He's
saying?
about it.
There's a lot of people out there I've seen who just are not actually on that self-development grind. There's a lot of kids who just complain about life. This kid over here, he's
got it within him.
He's actually got it within him. So I just wanted to put that out there.
appreciate it, boys.
And we want all of you guys to get on that as well. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? That's why we do these. That's why we try to show as much as we can.
Yeah.
Share the love. You know what I mean?
Monday morning.
Monday morning.
This is your week right here.
Oh yeah.
This is the week to get started.
The first full-length episode. I want to throw that out there. So
Yeah. This
I hope
one's
you
gonna
guys,
go crazy.
This is a good one.
Hey, yo, Owen Speaks.
So I guess next, right now, I kind of want to ask. I'm interested. Where do you have kind of a plan where you see yourself going with life? Like, kind of where you're moving forward? Are you still planning on going to college, stuff like that, or?
Yeah, so next year I want to be going to Saddleback College, just like Aiden over
Cool,
here.
cool.
I want to start a business while I'm there. That's one of my short-term goals. And then a long-term goal is something that I'm kind of shooting for, is to open a restaurant one day. I want to have the money, the time, and the utility to do that.
Right.
Because I don't know, I've been working in restaurants now for a good amount of time, and it sounds fun.
Yeah.
A lot of creativity going in there.
For sure. That's like a great way to kind of express yourself, while also being able to access that kind of growth and money that you're looking
Dude, that
for.
type of goal, that's
what we're talking
that's good
about.
ambitions, Lots of people out there, I guarantee there's some kid sitting there on his couch right now, and he's like, yo, I want to do something. I want to build a restaurant or a coffee house.
Right.
That is a perfect goal, straight up.
And see, the cool thing about that goal is it's not super unrealistic either. That's totally within the grasp and
For
things
real.
that you can get done.
Every restaurant's owned by someone, so why
That's
not
what
be
I'm
me,
saying.
right?
Exactly.
And there you go.
But so I guess kind of I'll ask like, do you have any kind of advice for people around your age? I know we're like a little bit older, me and Nick, but not too much older. So we've kind of given our advice. But like, I think in high school especially, it's like I see so many high schoolers not ready to kind of jump into that lifestyle yet. A lot of them are still kind of caught up in the social norms of, oh, I'm just a high schooler, I'm not ready yet. Do you think it's good to get started early and kind of start with that self-development as soon as you can?
Yeah, so the thing about our age is that we have time. We have more time than anybody. We have time for our investments to grow. We have time to chase our goals, accomplish everything we want. I talked to Nick recently about a goal that I have and something I want to do, and he said, you just got to open your laptop and start working, and like that's something huge, right?
For real.
Just open your laptop, start typing, researching, and that's no other way.
That's where it starts.
Literally trial by fire. Like the reason I tell people all this is because they get caught up in that whole issue of literally just information dump like on them, and then they just like are completely paralyzed. So I always tell people, go out there and just start and figure it out as you're going. Like it sounds painful, it's gonna suck, but that's the best way to do it, because then you'll get so good at it that way. So stop wasting your time. Like that's the main thing, is just literally start. Especially, I wanted to cover the thing how he said we have so much time, right? Time is literally money. Like break it down, think about it. Time is money, right?
You can't make it back either.
Exactly. And we have so much time. Use that to your advantage. Stop playing video games for 8 hours a day. Stop like chasing after a girl who doesn't even like you that much.
Stop watching anime.
Stop watching anime. Okay, watch some anime, but
a little bit of anime. One episode.
But like, get out there, get some money, and like, time is money. So go start growing. Like that is huge.
Yeah. So Nick, I think you might want to ask the highlighted question. I know that's one.
Oh, okay. Let me just say for our newer viewers who are just seeing this episode. So we are anti LeBron James here. Okay, we're not anti, but we are just like against LeBron James.
We are.
We are.
We are.
Oh.
We are. We are a dislike LeBron James podcast.
I thought we were just like somewhat dislike. I thought
we
were just like
we're somewhat dislike.
We were rivals. You know what I mean?
Like, we're rivals with LeBron.
LeBron James knows us too. Like,
He does.
us.
Yeah.
He knows we're rivals.
He knows that we're rivals, but. Anyways, so we wanted to talk with you, Owen, before we get into like the real meat here. What are your thoughts on LeBron James? What do you think?
All right, I got a funny story about LeBron. So in high school, my high school played LeBron James' son's high school in football, and they came to our high school to play. Yeah, Sierra Canyon, I believe. Okay. So we, as a student section, printed out a bunch of big heads of Bronny James, which is LeBron's son.
Right.
And we posted all over our Instagrams and tagged him. And Bronny reposted our student section with the LeBron head.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
No way.
Yeah. Bronny wasn't there, but we're rooting for Bronny.
Okay.
Let's go, Bronny. But
so what about LeBron?
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we like LeBron because of that or no?
I'm okay with LeBron.
That's how I feel too.
I'm okay with
Nick
LeBron.
kind of shoved me into this dislike
Well,
LeBron
because
James
like
category.
it's like we're against LeBron because he's our rival.
Is he thinking wealthy? Is that why, or what?
I don't know. I don't even.
He's kind of thinking wealthy, but we use him as a lot of analogies in this show. Like in past episodes, we always talk about LeBron and his work ethic. So
we want to be the LeBron James of wealth.
Somewhat.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
But we
want to take over the game.
We bash on LeBron.
LeBron is to basketball, as we.
That's exactly.
LeBron is to basketball as we are to.
But because of that, because
wealthy.
he's so high up there, we're jealous of him. So we don't like LeBron.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't even know. We're still forming our thoughts on LeBron as we go.
Yeah, we'll get there when we get there.
Okay, so I guess we've kind of answered the main questions that we're going to ask here about just yourself. If there's anything else you kind of want to add or want to say, if not, I think we can kind of jump in.
I think we're good. Shout out to the boys though. Nick
Shout
and
out
Aiden.
to the boys. Dude, we're going crazy. It feels good to be out here at Owen Speaks. But I think you guys are all ready. I'm especially ready to kind of get into the main meat of this conversation.
I'm very ready. I've been preparing for this.
Which is NFTs, because honestly, I'm gonna be 100% honest with you guys. I have no idea like how. I know it's like a artwork. It's like this digital artwork, and people buy it and sell it, and it's like stocks. It kind of trades. That's all I know. That's like literally it. So I wanna ask both of you guys can kind of answer for the audience and for me. What is an NFT? Kind of like what's going on with it? What do I need to know?
All right, an NFT stands for non-fungible token.
Okay.
It is artwork, and when you purchase an NFT, you own all the rights to that artwork. So you're free to do whatever you want with it.
Right.
And a lot of people buy them, or they hold value because it's yours once you buy it. So it's like this piece of artwork, but digital, and it's that's the future, and everything's becoming digital. The metaverse, Web3, so
okay.
NFTs, the reason they're so popular right now is it's almost like a status symbol. A lot of people are really into this because getting, like Bored Ape, which are like one of the biggest projects right now, you own that. That is a huge status symbol because that's so expensive. So these NFTs are almost like a social hierarchy type thing, like owning specific NFTs. It's almost like having a sick pair of Nike Dunks, right?
That's what I was going to say.
It's exactly like that, like owning that, but it's like a digital version. So there's a whole social hierarchy around it, which is like one of the main reasons why NFTs are growing so crazily.
So I guess the main thing I kind of see it as like the reason why, let's say, like a painting of Van Gogh is so worth so much money, right? It's held in a museum is because it's one of a kind. Mm-hmm. So my question is like, the only thing I see is like NFTs a lot of time. The meme is like people just screenshot it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
So like
it's funny, yeah, but there's a way around it.
But then as I thought about it, I was like, well, it's kind of like a piece of artwork as well, right? You can look up any Van Gogh painting and see a picture of it, right? But what creates the real value from it is that one of a kind, like owning that actual piece of artwork that Van Gogh touched, right? So
blockchain.
It's kind of interesting to me to think about because it's like it's kind of in the same realm, right? Like an NFT is similar in a way because it's this digital thing that only you own, but at the same time, it's like not having this tangible thing to hold or like look at in real life kind of confuses me a bit.
That's the uniqueness of it, right?
That's true. And
we're in a digital world now, okay?
That is true.
So the reason why, the whole joke about screenshot the NFTs, which I think is hilarious, right? When I first saw NFTs, like that is so funny. But like the reason you can screenshot it and it doesn't matter is because of a thing called the blockchain, right? Okay. Same thing that all cryptocurrency uses. Like whoever owns it, there's a like public record on who can see like who owns this piece of artwork or who owns this Bitcoin. Like it is all on there and everyone can see it, right? So that way you can know who actually owns the NFT. So that's what makes the whole screenshotting thing doesn't actually like matter. Right. But it's still funny, it's hilarious.
It's the same thing as that artwork type of thing. Like you can have a picture of it, but it's not the same.
Yeah, so when you go onto the the places where you buy NFTs. OpenSea. Yeah, OpenSea, the market, right? You can actually search people's profiles. And when you search their profiles, you see what they own, and sometimes they transfer their NFTs to like a different wallet, whatever. But you generally can see what they own. You can look up me, Owen Speaks. Just kidding. But no, there's some credibility there.
Okay, yeah, for sure. And I like, it's less of like that, and it's more I'm just like, how long is this gonna last? You know what I mean? What's interesting to me is like, even I'm like, why would I pay millions of dollars for this, random painting? Mm-hmm. Like I get that. The real thing to me that I see and why people own paintings, honestly, is its store of value, right? Mm-hmm. Like those artworks don't get taxed. You can store millions of dollars in an untaxed item that only really appreciates in value as time goes on, right? So to me, I'm like, NFTs could be that. But at the same time, I'm like, is it a fad? Is it something that I need to be worried about just going to kind of die out? You know what I mean?
So I want to explain two concepts to you first, right? This is from Gary Vee, so I just want to throw that out there because he's like one of the biggest NFT influencers out there. Yeah, bless Gary Vee. Okay. One of the main things he explains NFTs. Here's a background. Let's say the Queen of England goes out there, spits on a piece of paper, and then uses some red dye and just draws something with it, right? And like people take a picture of that, turn it into an NFT. That would sell for like insane amounts of money, right? Because that is the Queen of England making art. So there's like value behind that already. And on top of that, it's an NFT. So like that adds even more value on top of it. Okay. So there you go. There's kind of like almost a way of seeing tangible value in that. But here's the best way. I like to look at NFTs and how they're actually like, they have value, right? Okay. Have you ever seen a blue check mark on Instagram or like TikTok verified, right? Does that blue check mark actually do anything in the physical world? Does that mean anything in the physical world? Right. Absolutely not. But you see a blue check mark and you're like, that thing is cool. Like that person is important. Right. That little digital code that makes that blue check mark exist is what gives value to the actual check mark.
And when you see that, you kind of trust a lot more that what's going on there is real.
It's basically kind of like the blockchain and like NFTs. Like that blue check mark is the same concept as NFTs.
Right. Okay. I see you. So, like, Owen, do you have any thoughts before I kind of move on to that?
Yeah, so the whole thing about fads, right? I don't think NFTs are a fad, but there are maybe some that could be.
Oh, totally.
Right? So, the Bored Ape Yacht Club, that's the most expensive, popular.
That's the monkeys.
Yep. And so rappers are buying those. They go for like 250 grand. There's levels of rarity and things, but there are projects that are fad. And the thing is that all these people try to buy into these projects for low entry points, and they're cheap,
right.
and they have no like utility behind them, and the developers suck. Like, you want a project who someone like was a marketer at Google, or like they know how to build a business.
Right.
And so if you can do those things, you won't be buying into a fad, and you'll.
Right. So you gotta, there's somewhat of like, just like identifying a good company to invest in. It's like identifying a good NFT to buy.
Yeah. So there's a kind of like a big general theory right now about the market is that, it's big exploding beginning. So there's going to be a ton of people who are the actual fad of it, but the established ones are going to be established in the long term. Like, this is a big thing.
Okay.
And those big ones up there at the top are going to stay there for a while.
So you guys don't see at least the big NFTs declining in value at all, or being like in 50 years from stocks when they were first becoming a thing, right? Like, in my kind of theory of it, a lot of people were apprehensive of stocks, right? When they first came a thing, buying these companies, not knowing which one to buy, right? It's kind of similar, right? Or like especially crypto, right? Like getting into like, when people were first talking about Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin was this huge controversy of like whether or not it was good or not, right? And I see that a lot in the same thing with these NFTs. What surprises me is the fact that crypto went from just being this kind of little thing, 6-7 years ago with Bitcoin, and it was kind of blowing up, and people are like, it's the new thing, and it's still kind of there. You know what I mean? So there is something to be said about the fact that these NFTs could be kind of the future, going into this kind of the metaverse and all of these things, as especially us new investors get into it, right? Like, a lot of things that were huge back 50 years ago in terms of investing, like let's talk about stocks and real estate, are super overvalued now, hard to get into, right? Compared to what I see with these NFTs and cryptos, it's easier to get into, there's less value needed to just go and jump in, and there's a lot kind of out there to explore, and I think a lot of young people are into it. So I see it as kind of both ways, like it could be a fad, and especially not the crypto as much, like I think crypto is going to be the future a lot with investments, but NFTs I'm still iffy on, you know what I mean? But you guys are helping me kind of see it more, and I'm understanding a bit more, but...
I just want to add one thing. So NFTs are directly related to crypto, and basically you just told me that crypto is here to stay, right?
Right.
So if crypto's here to stay, NFTs are most likely going to be here to stay because they are directly connected.
So couldn't I say that I think the dollar's here to stay for a while, right? I think the dollar's going to be here to stay for a while. And unless the U.S. gets nuked by Russia, I'm going to say the dollar's here for a while.
Hot take.
Right? Okay. But... Because of that, right? So we're saying the dollar, right, has a lot of value. Dollar's going to be here for a while. Does that mean that the shoe brands that are making these really expensive hype shoes, are they going to be here forever? Are they always going to be hype? Because they're directly related, because it's the currency that buys them, right? Is it not the same thing with cryptos and NFTs? Is it not just the currency that buys them? Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
I do get what you're saying.
Like, I'm just trying to see if there's a closer link to it than that, right? Just like how the dollar buys anything in the real world market. Does crypto have a closer connection, or is it just that you buy all of these NFTs with crypto?
I think it's still kind of down onto the whole, like the social aspects of it, right? Because like that hype around it is going to be something that's like solidified for a while. Because like look at the whole crypto market and how much that's growing. People are like, oh my gosh, Bitcoin is going to be here to stay, bro. I mean, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, all that stuff is like, it's the exact same thing happening again with NFTs, because like, look at this big rapper. He just bought this giant NFT right here. I'm so excited. I'm going to jump in and I want to see what happens. And people are learning and they're like, holy crap, this might actually be here to stay. And more people are like, this is going to be here to stay, you know?
Right. So I guess this has always been my main question. Okay. This is like my big question, the one that I feel like for the most part, I don't still understand and kind of stumps a lot of people, okay? So, in my opinion, what makes stocks valuable is the fact that they're in companies that make profit, right? The reason stocks are valuable is because they're for companies. You're owning a share of a company that then goes out and makes money, right? So, when I'm buying an NFT, why should I buy it? How do I know it's valuable? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, what about it is valuable compared to like what is valuable with the company and why you buy stock?
All right. Well, I like to think about it when if you're doing this correctly, not financial advice, by the way.
Okay.
But
all of this is not financial advice.
yeah, NFA, not financial advice. Owen Speaks.
Owen Speaks.
So if you're doing this correctly, you're buying an NFT that's part of a project, but that project is kind of a company.
Okay.
Right.
I
So
see.
every project kind of has a website, right? And commonly they have a roadmap. A roadmap tells you what they want to do in the short term, long term. I
Okay.
have bought a project that wants to create build a school for women in the metaverse.
Whoa.
Yeah, and it's a woman-led project. It's led by a woman. It's artwork of women,
Okay.
right? So that's an incentive to buy in.
Right.
But the roadmap tells you what they're gonna do, and so you buy in hopes that they accomplish those things, and the value of the company grows too.
Okay. So the theoretical shares in this company are kind of like the NFTs, right? Like each NFT is like this kind of valuable share, and you're buying into what is their brand and idea and company's kind of. Okay, so that in a lot of ways that is similar, right? Like we value a company on kind of what they're trying to achieve, what their profits that they're trying to gain is, if they are actually gaining those profits and being successful in doing what they say they're going to do. So I guess if an NFT, I don't know what it's called, like a group or a company, NFT project, if they're being successful and doing it right, then it's kind of the same way. That's what kind of shows value in those NFTs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Another really interesting value is some NFTs have different utilities, right?
Okay.
So there's utilities, basically just like whatever the NFT kind of provides specific to the project, right? I've seen, back to Gary Vee again, he's talking about making an NFT project that if you buy into it, he's going to buy an island, and you will literally have free access to this island if you own one of the NFTs.
Oh, okay.
So that is like a super elite club, right? And so this one of those NFTs could go for millions, because like think about the perceived value of that. Like that's insane. You can just go to an island for free. He has another NFT collection right now that this one actually exists. Like if you buy into this NFTs, you can get into like this specific restaurant that he has shares in or something like that, and you can get in, or you get like deals or something about like free entry to like a restaurant. Okay. So like those type of utilities also add value to these actual,
like
real world, you
real
can
world
tangible, or there can be like the game items or other stuff like that that can like add different value aspects to NFTs.
Mm-hmm. Right. So here's kind of my thing, right? The main thing that creates value in anything, right? What makes these valuable, what makes this computer valuable, which makes your time valuable,
time is money.
Is the concept of scarcity, right? Scarcity meaning that there's only a finite amount of resources and time that we have in the world to achieve things.
Straight up.
Right? So, in my understanding of crypto also kind of works in this realm of scarcity, as there's only so many coins, right? Mm-hmm. Is it the same thing with NFTs? There's only so many kind of artworks that a company can make? Or like what's stopping a company from theoretically like printing a bunch of money, making a bunch of these NFTs and devaluing their whole thing? Right? Like, is that kind of the same concept?
So let me talk about how much power the people, the owners of these NFTs hold, right? Okay. So in Discord, a lot of these NFT projects have Discords, and that's where the people are talking all the time. Right. If you go in, everyone's pretty much always saying delist, delist, delist. If the people delist their NFTs, which means like have it not for sale, then the lower ones are not for sale. So the cheapest one is more expensive. Mm-hmm. And for someone to buy in, they need to buy it at maybe 1 or 2 Ethereum rather than half an Ethereum. Okay. So the people have control over kind of what the floor price is, and the floor price means like the lowest entry price. Right? So if everyone delists, and they could relist for 5 Ethereum, that means that whoever wants to buy in would have to pay 5 Ethereum, and everyone would benefit from that. Okay. But then it also kind of works off the same concept of demand, right? Like how much demand is there going to be for these NFTs at a higher level, right? Mm-hmm. So like you said, like let's say starting off the floor price was at 0.5 Ethereum, mm-hmm. right? And then everyone's like, okay, you delist these and would sell them for higher, right? Like why? Like I guess I'm still confused. I'm like, why would I want to buy this thing for 5 Ethereum compared to 0.5 Ethereum? Where is it too much money? Where is it too much Ethereum? Do you know what I'm saying?
So before we answer that, I just kind of want to jump back into the scarcity thing. Often what projects do is they'll make like a finite amount of NFTs that drop per per project.
So it's
drop
like
thing,
it's
right?
like kind of like shoes. Like there's only so many.
Yeah,
of
so
that-
they'll
of
make
that
like
shoe made.
1,000. They'll mint like 1,000 of an NFT collection, and
Okay.
that way it creates like a scarcity. So each of them have more value, especially if there's huge hype around a project. Because
Okay.
then people are like, I want to jump into this. So that creates like more money for the actual projects as a whole.
Right.
But to answer the other question, which was like how much value, right?
Like,
are you
like
asking-
why is there a value that I actually can perceive, right? Like why is 0.5 different from 5 Ethereum, and like why would I want to buy it at 5 Ethereum? Do you get what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
why
yeah.
should I demand so much for this? It seems to me like it would make the most sense to buy the cheapest NFT that has decent demand, right? Like and I might be thinking about this completely wrong and explaining this completely wrong. So I apologize if I am. But like I'm still somewhat apprehensive in understanding like why should I buy one? Like what? Like besides the fact that it seems like to me hype is the only thing that's pushing the value upwards.
FOMO, fear of
Yeah.
missing out. Yeah,
Right.
the buyers that go in and that are new to NFTs, like they'll see, they'll buy in without really researching.
Okay.
But the 0.5 versus 5 Ethereum debate here, right? Nike, let's say they sell their Nike Dunks for $100,
Right.
but and they decide one day to sell them for $200 instead.
Right.
But we never knew they were for 100. I think we'd still buy the Dunks for 200.
Okay. I get what
So it's kind of thing. It's just like a
so it's hype and
standardized. If
Right.
one person found out about a project and saw it at 5 Ethereum and never knew it was 0.5, maybe they're just down to buy it.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So like it still seems to me, and like I'm not gonna say this, it still seems to me like it's very. So I keep relating it back to kind of like the shoes and like hype shoes, right? Like the value that you get out of a shoe is simply how much it protects your feet, right? Like just straight up, like the value of a shoe is how much it protects your feet,
Yeah.
right? But the other part of the value is created by human norms and kind of the way that we see shoes as this cool
The social
stylish-
aspect,
the
right? Yeah.
social aspect. So
Exactly.
is that kind of the same thing? It's the social aspect that makes it
Yeah.
valuable, right?
So like some NFTs will have the protects your feet type thing, right? Like the
Right.
utilities, like getting into a restaurant, like
Okay.
that's sick. And then
Right.
there's also the social value, like this NFT is worth so much money. I bought into it. Look how sick I am. Like there's some NFTs have those aspects as well.
So, and it looked like you're about to say something. So if you want to say something, go ahead. 'cause I'm not-
There is quite a social aspect. I don't know if you guys have seen, viewers of Thinking Wealthy, a lot of celebrities have their Instagram and Twitter profile pictures as NFTs. I can
Yeah,
list
sure.
a few. OBJ, Odell Beckham, he has one. His girlfriend, like many, right?
Does LeBron?
I don't know if LeBron. I don't think LeBron does. But I have seen like there's like
Oh.
for sure. There's a lot of
Yeah.
people now that have NFTs
Uh-huh.
as their profile pictures.
And so, that's a social thing, right? You see these
Right.
people like, oh, what is this animated ape that they have as a profile picture, and they want to buy it, or one could want to buy it and then use it as their profile picture.
Right.
I have an NFT that's a woman, and a bunch of variations of woman, and a woman could go look and see which one resembles them. Oh, I have pink hair and a nose ring. I'm gonna buy this one, and
Right.
then they put that as their profile picture.
Okay. So it's kind of like the same thing with the shoes, right? Like the value comes from like, oh, I want to show off the fact that I have
Yeah.
this NFT, or like I want to show off that I have this cool shoe that I bought, right? So I guess that's starting to make more sense to me now. I'm starting to see it, right? And I guess partly my apprehension does come from just my apprehension with most things. Like I don't see much value in buying cool shoes because I'm like, oh, it's just kind of like I see it and I don't. Like I totally understand how other people could see it.
But also shoes and NFTs are way different because NFTs are an investment, shoes are not.
Well, no, in some
They
way,
can
but
be,
in some
yeah.
way, in my theory, shoes are somewhat an investment, right? Think about it this way, right? When Nike goes ahead and they release a new dunk, right? It usually comes out for like $100,
Yeah.
right? That's the base set retail price. Nike doesn't get any more after that.
Yeah.
People all buy these within like a minute. They're sold out, right? And then people list them for $300, $400. And a lot of the time, those shoes increase in value as the years go on,
It
right?
is a business.
So it's in a way, a similar investment tool as an NFT would be, as it's something that kind of grows in value due to scarcity and demand, right? And if like Nike were to then re-release a shoe that they made 2 years ago, usually that shoe would decrease in value. It's kind of
True.
the same thing, right? The more there is, the less valuable it becomes,
Mhm.
right? So like, to me, I'm looking at NFTs in that way because I see it as like there is true value in like kind of investing in it, right? You can put your money into one and hope that it grows. But in the same way with shoes, I'm kind of like, how do I determine which NFT is going to blow up and which one isn't, right? Like, if I'm looking at shoes as a way to make money, right? A lot of resellers do this. They look, okay, here's the retail price, and how much do I think it will increase when I resell, right? Is it the same thing with NFT? You're buying it, let's say for 0.5 Ethereum, and you're trying to predict, like, it's going to go to 5 Ethereum. Like, how do I do that? How do I see that, right? In terms of like an investor's perspective.
Yeah, I'd say if nothing else, a lot of the same principles of scarcity and demand and, apply to the NFTs, just like shoes.
Okay, so it's kind of based off, like, is the demand based off mainly hype, or is it more off of, like, what Nick was saying with, like, the value that it presents in terms of, like, what you can get into, stuff like that?
I think it's mostly the hype. Like, I'll be honest, it is mostly the hype. Because, like, the best way to find a potential NFT project is like, oh, this one's hyped. Like, look how many followers this Twitter account has, right? I'm going to jump in. I want to see what their Discord is about. You take a look at their roadmap, then you start getting excited, right? I'm going to be honest, it's mostly based around hype. Like, there isn't too much actual, like, physical value to NFTs yet, right? Like, it's still very new in that perspective.
Right.
So there's a lot of just excitement around it. And that's why there's probably going to be that big crash where only the big ones and the actual useful ones survive. And these, like, small little fads are going to die off. So that's because of that hype. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So that seems to make sense. And I'm hoping we have kind of explained that a bit to the viewers as well, because I feel like I definitely have learned already. But I guess I kind of want to talk a bit. Do you guys see it as kind of like, oh, I just think NFTs are a cool way to have like a nice thing, kind of like a nice shoe, or are you looking at it like investment, like I want to make money off NFTs?
Yeah, so in the NFT world, they call the people who are just trying to buy and sell paper hands.
Paper hands, right?
Owen will admit it, he's a paper hand.
Right, and I kind of see the only real value I would ever have in this is having paper.
Yeah.
I don't care about, these random drawings.
And regrettably, like, yeah, I am in this for like the investment aspect. I would never pay $1,000 for a piece, and an image that kind of is cool. Like, I wouldn't do that.
Right.
But a lot of people would, and maybe some people are just like me, but won't even admit it, right?
Right.
But
to me, it seems a lot of that, right? Like, the thing I see most with NFTs is people talking about ways to make money off of them, right? Make money with NFTs. Like, when we're talking about stocks and like in buying into a company, right? There's kind of, you can buy a stock in a company and it gives dividends, right? So that's why you buy it. Or you can buy it just because you think it's going to increase in value due to like, this company's a new big thing. It's got something that other companies don't have, and it's going to go and increase in value super, super high, and then I'm going to sell it later type of thing, right? So how I'm seeing NFTs is kind of different, where I'm like, it seems like to me the only real thing that is going to make it valuable is hype. And that, in my opinion, scares me, because hype is really hard to determine, right?
it is.
And there's a lot of stocks that are like that too, right? Like if you go on TikTok, there's a lot of these TikTok investors that are like, go buy this random company that I guarantee you they don't even know what it does or what it's for, and it blows up simply based off hype.
So to combat that, that's why projects are coming up with these really interesting utilities, right?
Right.
So different things that they can use in real life or wherever that actually benefits the buyer, right?
Okay.
That's why I bring up the island thing again. Like the actual uses for that are incredible. Or like having an NFT that allows you to, buy, orphanages or something, like NFTs that bring money towards an orphanage, and you can like support those kids. Like there's stuff like that out there, and people are pushing these crazy utilities now, so they actually have like more value than just
so we're
hype.
trying to connect it more to the real world.
Yes, that's what I think. Projects are
tangible.
definitely taking bigger steps towards utilities that are way more valuable than just the hype, because there's been so many projects that are just hype, right? And that's why there's probably going to be those like fads that drop off, because basically now NFTs that have useful utilities have way more value than an NFT that's just like hype.
Okay. Yeah.
Let me explain something to the listener here. Like, you might be thinking, oh, so why would I buy an NFT over stocks? I'd hope we explain that, but if not, here's the thing. If you're young like us, or any age, stocks take time to grow, right? A company, stocks take time to grow. But an NFT, if you're all over Twitter, all over Discord, you're always looking out for the next project, and the hype, right? Which is hard to predict, but if you know the hype, you mint a project. you're lucky enough to get on the mint, and that usually is like so little of an Ethereum. It's like 0.02, right? So very small.
Okay,
If you can mint a project, you can sometimes sell it secondary on OpenSea Marketplace, right? And you can make $10,000, $5,000 in just 15 minutes.
So that's like buying it for retail, basically.
Yeah, it is.
It is. Means okay.
And then when I bought mine, it was resale, right?
Right. So you were buying it from a reseller, hoping it would increase in value then.
True.
Over that point.
So what's the beauty of NFTs is that it's quick money. It could be quick money.
Right.
You know, stocks, you're not making $10,000 overnight.
Right.
Maybe you are, but
well, you can. It's just the thing is what makes you can make $10,000 in a day in stocks, right? But see, this is the thing. But it takes a large amount of money to do do right? So I see what you're saying with NFTs, like a little bit.
They're
the
so
barrier
volatile.
of entry.
Yeah, they're extremely volatile right now. Like
Right.
the whole enticement is that you can run in there $300, one day later come out with like 20,000. Like it's that
It's
crazy. Yeah.
And it's like, to me, that scares me, obviously. I'm a lot more conservative than some other people are. And my thoughts on it is this, right? Like, I think that if you're wasting your rent money on this and just risking like, oh, I have either this month's rent pay or my potential to make a bunch of money off of NFT, don't do it. But if you save some money and you're going to put it into an NFT and you did your research and you think it's going to grow, then, I mean, like, that's the same thing as doing it with a stock, right? So to me, that does make sense, and I see that value in there. But I just guess I want to ask more of like, do you guys think that as these grow and as more utility gets added to them, that the amount of NFTs is going to grow? Like, do you guys think that the amount of NFTs are going to grow the more popular it's going to become? Or do you think it's kind of at its peak right now in terms of how much it's got?
Okay. I think it is definitely going to grow. Exactly, like it's probably going to look like very similar how the actual stock market looks right now. Like, you know, you have those big established companies up there.
Right.
And there's be those small startups that are like exciting and go all over the place. But there's always going to be those big established companies that you can invest in and that will gradually make money over time because the market like always does that.
Right.
I think NFTs are going to be exactly like that. Those big ones up there are going to be the solidified big, you know, companies that are like, or the big projects that are like, we're going to be around here. We're going to stay, you know, ahead of the curve. We're always going to be setting the standards, stuff like that. And those companies are going to be the ones that lead the charge forward on NFTs.
All right. So I guess kind of something linked to that is this. You mentioned like big stocks, right? Big companies. And the reason why in my head companies grow, companies and stock kind of continue like that, those big companies are good investments because they are so strong that they grow with our nation's GDP, right? So it's kind of linked to the way our nation grows. When our nation hits a bout of inflation and we go into a recession, a lot of times stock prices drop as well. Are crypto and NFT linked in that way, where if a recession hits and people start to get worried, are they putting more money into crypto or out? Do you guys know? I don't know if you guys know.
Well, with the recession,
Isn't it the inverse thing?
yeah, okay. So I was gonna say that crypto and NFTs are hot and cold. When crypto is cold, people buy and sell NFTs, right? Because they're cheaper, essentially.
Oh, okay.
Because for the listener, you buy NFTs with Ethereum.
Right.
So you buy Ethereum and then spend that Ethereum on NFTs.
And Ethereum is a crypto, just if you don't know, but yeah. Okay.
So when you go to buy them, they're priced in Ethereum.
Right.
And so when Ethereum's not very valuable, people buy and sell the NFTs. And usually when Ethereum kind of peaks, the NFT market kind of slows.
Right, because it's a lot more expensive to get into.
Okay. But I read recently a tweet that made a lot of sense how that used to be the case, and now people are still kind of a lot of stuff is still going on, even though the Ethereum market's doing pretty well right now. It's bouncing back from what happened in like February. So
and I think that, like, for me, just so you guys know, I was looking into cryptos a bit more because I was like, I want to put at least a percentage of my money into crypto. Once again, not financial advice. Don't do anything I'm saying. But so I looked into it more, right? And I put I was thinking about like 5-10%, right, that I want to put in crypto. And what was crazy to me is while I was investing in some basic ETFs and kind of things to grow casually about, I'm hoping 10% per year type of thing. Right now the market's a little bit all over the place. But I did that, and I put some money in those, and I put some money into Bitcoin and Ethereum. And what was crazy to see is I got like a 17% return in 2 weeks from my Bitcoin and Ethereum investment, right?
When'd you do this?
I did this, okay, I gotta think a sec. So right now is April, March. It was probably right, you said like February is when it kind of declined.
Yeah, it did.
I think around that time is when I put my money in because I knew that it had declined a bit and I was like, I don't know where this is gonna go. And I'm full 100%. I didn't, it was kind of like, I only put $50. So I wasn't like all in, right? But I was like, I want to see what happens. I'm going to test the waters a bit, see what it's like. And I got a 17% return. I pulled out right after that because I was like, I'm scared what's going to happen.
Nice.
And I mean, $50 was $50 to me. I wasn't tripping on it too much. And I still have some money in Ethereum right now. Not doing the hottest, but I'm kind of thinking more of it long term because I see that Bitcoin and Ethereum both like in 5 years have gained so much value. You know what I mean? So in 5 years from now, I'm thinking maybe they'll gain not maybe the total amount that they did in their kind of hype increases, but a good amount as well. I kind of see that as well.
Yeah, and just like NFTs, crypto, there's always new cryptos coming out, and that's something too. Like the hype in crypto, you always want to be looking at Twitter and things like that, and paying attention to what cryptos are coming out because if you get on those early, then you're gonna make some good money too.
Right. So I guess the question I have for you guys that I think is really an important one because it's important to our viewers. I assume a lot of our viewers are younger people, right? Older people know a lot of the answers to the questions that we're already asking and answering, right? Like I think a lot of older people aren't as interested, especially with NFTs. I think a lot of older investors are like, no, that's that's gonna die, right? Here's what I'm thinking. I'm looking at the market right now. I'm looking at the economy right now. I'm looking at kind of what's going on with the U.S. And I see a lot of things that are worrying for young people, right? People like us are jumping in at a time where housing market is just all over the place, super high, right? Overall inflation and wages are down from when they were 10 years ago. We're making less than we were making 10 years ago. We're making less than we were making 50 years ago, which is obviously kind of the case, right? But measured with inflation, we are at a tough time, right? Living in America is pretty hard right now.
It is.
And here's my thought, right? People are always talking about, oh, well, you got to step your game up, get into stocks, get into real estate, right? And the more I look at it, I'm like, that's kind of this 50-year approach, right? When stocks and real estate it will always, I think, kind of have its place. But right now it's this world of super big money investors versus us with not enough money to get into it. And my theory about it is this. The whole world is in this thing where it's us, these young investors, trying to build into this huge barrier with a ton of money needed to get in, right? But I see NFTs as maybe kind of the new, NFTs and crypto as this new place to kind of jump in for us younger people. Do you guys kind of agree with that? That is kind of the new place for younger people to get money into?
I would agree with that. There's all these, I said, like minting is quite cheap for us.
Right.
If you're a teenager with a small job, you can afford to mint and you can afford to make those profits.
Right.
It's unlike real estate where it costs so much money and so many years' salary to even have a down payment, right?
Exactly.
So.
And it's worrying to me a lot of the time. I'm like, I think we need to kind of look at these new things, at least for us young people, as like, it's where it starts.
Like one of the aspects, I guess, of NFTs and like crypto in general is like younger people. It's almost like a middle finger to like those big investors because like the absolute insane change that can happen and how the bigger investors don't even think it's like going to be here to stay, and yet it's still here and it is actually making the change is another reason why the younger investors are jumping in. Like, it's like, screw those big guys, like, we're going to make this happen and we're going to show you that it might even like topple that and like be up there. Like that's another reason why people are jumping in at our age.
Okay. So you
just got to give it the time of day. I think if you give it the time of day, you're doing yourself a favor.
Okay.
Because we're ahead. Even if you decide to do it next week and the week after, listener, we're still ahead and early on it.
We're getting it.
The biggest risk is not taking any risk at all. Tony Robbins.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is true.
If you want to be different, you got to move different.
Ooh.
So the main thing I want to say is this, right? Especially we talked about this earlier. We're at a time where there's not a lot of things we have to pay for, at least for us right now. I think a lot of people out there too, probably living with your parents, maybe you're working a job, and you're spending most of your money on stupid shoes and food, right? So, do you guys think, would you advise, like, hey, maybe go look at NFTs. Like maybe that's a place where you can start looking to make some investments, make some time. Not saying to go buy any particular NFT. No financial advice. We're not giving it. But
NFA Owen Speaks.
But do you guys think, like, are you both interested in, like, if an NFT project came up, would you be interested in going into it? You trust it like that?
Yeah, I do think some people should heavily consider it. It wouldn't hurt, I would say, if you have the money to spend to kind of have some NFTs in your portfolio. They could be long-term holds or short-term holds, as long as you kind of keep up with the market and the news on them.
Right. So that's another question I want to ask. Is there kind of a long-term and short-term market for NFTs as well, kind of like the others at stocks?
I would say long-term for NFTs, because it's so new, long-term is like 2 years.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true.
Long-term is what short-term is in the stock market.
Right.
I think.
Okay.
And then short-term could honestly be 15 minutes because
right, you're just buying it and selling it.
Yeah, meant to resell.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. But I mean, it makes sense. And if you think about it, I think the one thing I keep relating it back to, because it's a concept I understand a bit more, is kind of that shoe thing, right? Like, it's crazy. People go buy a shoe on retail and instantly put it on eBay for two, 3 times the value that they bought it for retail, right? It's kind of the same thing. It's the same world that we're kind of looking at here. And really, it's whether or not you believe it's going to kind of grow. But I mean, realistically, let's say, it doesn't really matter if you think it's going to die out in 2 years anyway, because it seems like most people are making their money from short-term, kind of buying it, selling it, right? The paper hands, you said.
Yeah. See, my advice is, like, go check it out. Don't be scared. Like, for all investing, like, go in and look at this, because there's potential to be made. Like, don't sit around. Like we said at the beginning of the episode, just jump in. Go do something, because the biggest risk is not taking any risk at all.
Right.
If you're just sitting at home and spending your money on, like, a pillowcase that has like an anime girl on it, bro, you're dumb.
The shiny pink sparkly things, right? Nick?
Yes, exactly. The shiny, yeah. Go out there and start like investing your money in something that's gonna grow your money. Don't be stupid. Like, you know, if you want to actually get somewhere, like, just jump in. I'm telling you, take the risk.
Yeah. So I think so far this has been kind of a good conversation, and right now I'm kind of trying to think of some more questions. We kind of ran through our questions here. But you got something to say?
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
So here's a little story for some more context. There was once this project, and it's still a project, but it's called Girlies NFT, and I believe the artwork was made by a young girl, and I believe she was 12. And so everyone was going crazy about, oh, a 12-year-old made this artwork, and it was these animated girls, and they have all these colored hair features that made them rare and less rare. And people were buying in, and then obviously the 12-year-old can't run this whole thing herself, so her dad kind of stepped in and filled that role. But within a short amount of time, there was an interview, and the dad said that we're gonna keep I'm gonna keep my daughter's identity kind of anonymous, and they're not gonna show her face. And then everyone's like, well, how are you gonna build a business if you can't show your daughter's face? Because that's what
that's what it's based on.
And so now, fast forward, it's pretty low value, and that's like having Owen Speaks without Owen.
Right, exactly. Right, 'cause it's like, who's Owen then, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying. But see, to me, that kind of comes with this thing. It's like I see a lot of short-term value in terms of making money and kind of making like, oh, I'm gonna make this trade. But once again, it seems like it's somewhat hard to kind of predict what's going to go long term, what's really going to be valuable. You know what I mean?
Like I said earlier, I think it's the utilities that are going to make it long term. The people who come up with those like fantastic life changing utilities, like I'm pretty sure there's ones with like real estate in the metaverse, like land that you can own in there. Like that's a utility, and people like I guarantee 5, 10, 15 years we'll be in the metaverse, and that's going to be like an actual world. And owning land there is like owning land out here in like real life.
That's
like those utilities are going to be like.
Yeah, I wanted to ask a question about that too, because one thing I know very little about, but I hear a lot about, is the metaverse, and I see that that's kind of linked a lot with NFTs and cryptos as well. Do you guys have anything about the metaverse that you kind of want to add? Anything, maybe a little bit of a definition for our viewers? Because low-key, I have no idea. Like, to me, it's somewhat confusing, and it's like I know it's like kind of this like online digital world kind of.
I'll be honest, I don't know too much about the connection. I just know about the real estate kind of utility with the metaverse and how that's like exciting,
Right. Maybe we'll make another video about the metaverse. We'll do some research.
Have you guys heard about the Web3?
I haven't.
The third generation of the internet?
Very little.
So the whole idea of Web3, and I think that kind of ties in with the metaverse pretty tightly, is that the Web3 is like decentralized. So that's the word everyone's using. And what it means is there's more control in the users. The users have more control. and the huge databases that are like, owned by Google right now, as we're speaking.
Okay.
In the future, and with Web3, they're owned accessible to the users.
So like users can modify and change it. Is that what it means?
In a way, right? Kind of.
Maybe, yeah. But
I think it's still in development, right?
Yes, it is, and it's like still something that's kind of spoken as in the future.
Right. It's kind of a concept right now. It's not a reality.
Yeah. So it's decentralized, and these big, databases are not going to be owned by Google, but they're going to be accessible to us, the user.
Okay. So it's all kind of this interesting thing where it's like it seems like to me it's constantly kind of talking about, well, in the future it'll be useful, right? Mm-hmm. And I see that and I understand that, but once again, it creates this kind of apprehension in my mind where I'm like, well, no one really knows what's going to happen in the future, right? It's hard to predict the future. It's hard to know, right? So I'm like, as much as I want to be all in with these NFTs, and I think after this, I will look into it more, right? Maybe we can all work together to kind of look at it more and maybe make some more videos about it if you guys like this episode.
That's right.
But it definitely seems like to me that it's still this world that is very much getting started. It's like the next revolution of technology almost, right? Like we looked at like when my kind of understanding of the .com bubble, if you guys know what that was, like early 2000s,
it's
a bunch of tech companies and stuff like that, right? And like kind of what you were saying, how a bunch are going to blow up, but only the really valuable ones are going to stay.
That's exactly what happened, yeah.
Right, so that's kind of what happened with the .com bubble. I'll explain it real quick for the viewers. In like 2000, right, computers, the internet, everything was just kind of blowing up around it. And tech companies were going crazy.
This is exactly what Gary Vee talks about. Like he uses that concept, the .com bubble, all of that blowing up is what's going to happen to NFTs.
Right. So, and basically what happened was all these big tech companies were this huge fad, right? And if you guys watch like the Wolf of Wall Street, I'm gonna kind of relate it with this. You know how like
Sigma.
he's on that they sell all these stocks to people, right? They call people, and this is kind of what brokerage firms used to do. It's kind of less of a thing now. They're still a big thing, but they'll call people back, I got this investment for you. It's kind of what was going on, right? So all these people trying to sell these tech companies that weren't really being looked into and didn't really present any real value, right? And over time, or not really over time, just once the bubble kind of forms, it popped, and all of these companies kind of went under because they weren't able to do what they said they were going to do. A lot of their value kind of got shown as not being that valuable, and a lot of these companies failed, right? But from that came companies like Amazon, and not really Google, maybe Google. Probably Google. I'm not even sure, but like a lot of these big tech companies came from it. Like I know Amazon with being like they used to sell books, and I mean look at Amazon now. A lot of these tech companies started off small and were in this kind of .com bubble. It popped. A lot of these companies failed, but from it came some huge companies that are like the biggest companies today.
That is what's going to happen with NFTs. Go check out some of Gary Vee's stuff if you're actually interested about this. He talks about this all the time. The .com bubble popping is going to happen to NFTs. It's going to pop. All these little stupid ones that don't have much utility or much use at all are going to pop. Those are going to go away, and the big ones are going to remain. It's going to grow, and it's going to be something huge.
Right. And
not financial advice.
Not financial advice. And what's cool is kind of like I hadn't thought about that until like just now, but that makes sense to me, right? Mm-hmm. Like in everything, I feel like it's like this is the new web, right? This is the new way that things are going to kind of move, right? We're going to see more of the internet move into this metaverse concept and this thing where it's like almost like we're living in this metaverse, right?
Just some more vision for the viewers. At the recent Super Bowl, fans in attendance got an NFT. Some
really?
NFTs from being at the Super Bowl. Yes.
Okay.
That's one. Two, Gary Vee released a book over the summer, and he put it up for sale to the public. And if you bought it off his website in like quantities of, I think it was 100, right? But 10 or 100 books, you got one of his NFTs. Right. And so I've seen people who spent, like they maxed their credit cards out to buy his books because they wanted those NFTs, and now those NFTs are so valuable, right? So
are they?
It's like an incentive in the real world, in real business. Right. Gary Vee wanted to sell his book.
So he put it with the NFT.
So he put it with the NFT, and people, like, I don't know, I saw pictures of people standing with their stacks of books, and they can do what they want with the books, but they got hella NFTs.
Right, okay. So, and see, that makes sense to me. We're starting to kind of depack some of these concepts and ideas with NFTs and kind of put it into like, what is an NFT and why should I care, right? So
that's a good title.
That was good. Yeah.
yeah, there we go. Maybe that'll be our title. It'll be Owen Speaks, and then : NFTs and why should I care, right? So
I like that.
basically, I feel like now we kind of ran through the NFT idea a bit,
Yeah.
right? I think so far I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling like I'm definitely gonna look into it more, right? Prior to this, I was like, I don't know. I don't think NFTs are for me, and now I kind of see it. I see it a bit more.
I hope the viewers feel that way too, especially like people out there who think, "Oh, I'm just gonna screenshot this NFT." Go check it out, but you can still screenshot it. That's hilarious.
Yeah,
but like,
that's fine.
go check it out.
But I guess quickly, because this is the Owen Speaks episode, and Owen has spoken a lot. I want to ask a couple more questions, just kind of get a bit more out there. Hopefully show the audience that there's other people besides us two crazy people here, me and Nick, that are interested in this, and hopefully get you guys more interested. So my thoughts are this, right? I want to ask you, kind of like, do you at all kind of think the stock market's cool? What's your thoughts on that? Or are you kind of more this like new age crypto NFT type of guy? Like what are you kind of looking at?
The stock market to me is just so like it's a little boring, right?
Right,
It's,
it is. It definitely is.
Yeah, it's just stagnant. Well, the stock market is not stagnant, but it's just kind of
It's a little bit more slow.
It feels 2005. You know what I mean?
Okay, I see what you're saying.
But the NFTs, like, it's exciting. They're bright, flashy pink,
Glittery.
right? But it's exciting, right? And it's new, and it feels good to be kind of in that first wave.
Right. Okay.
So for me, yeah, that's what excites me.
Now, here's my question to you, right? So, like, I think how I keep looking at NFTs, because this is kind of how my brain looks at it. I look at, like, there's strong kind of long-term money-making investments that are supposed to be kind of like, this is money you're saving, right? And it's kind of money that you're trying to build compound interest on.
Mm-hmm.
And then money that would put into, like, stuff like NFTs or crypto, which is a little bit more like money I'm not scared about losing, but I want to try to make some money off of.
True.
Do you think, like, maybe as you go, like, are you going to start looking, like, as you build more money, are you going to be having it all in NFTs and crypto and, like, kind of fast growing assets? Or are you going to start thinking a bit more about kind of putting it into safer places and then ratioing all that out? You know what I mean?
Ratio. Well, given this, I bought one NFT in it. Within a few weeks, it kind of jumps up like crazy.
Right.
And for the second one, I was going to buy a second one for $1,000 at the time.
Yeah.
So whatever amount of Ethereum that was,
Right.
it equaled out to be $1,000. And now I just checked it, and it's worth like $100.
Wow.
Right?
So you
so
dodged a bullet
that
there.
shows that you can have one W and one L, and it
100%.
cancels out. So it's like that. So as I build my wealth and grow, I don't want to invest too much in NFTs because one purchase could
Change
wipe
your whole
out
thing,
the profit I made on the first one. So
Okay. Yeah, I see you.
yeah, diversification of
Oh, yeah.
assets.
Oh, yeah. For sure. So I think, yeah.
That's important with everything.
Yeah, and I think in my brain, I'm thinking like, this is in the same realm as crypto to me. I'm like, I get it, but only kinda. Especially now, I'm understanding a bit more, but still, lots of research needs to get done for me personally. But I definitely see value in putting some percentage of your total wealth into it, right? Like it's not a bad idea. To me, it seems cool.
It's exactly like the pyramid of investing, right? Like get your safe stuff, build it on the bottom, so you have that slow and steady wealth building, and then towards the top, that's where I would put NFTs. Is like, put the money that you're not afraid to lose, put it at the top of the pyramid. The risky, could make you a ton of money. If you lose it, it wouldn't kill you. Like that's where NFTs kind of land right now. Like that's the main reason people would be investing in NFTs, because the long term isn't that long.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess like right now I'm kind of tired out of questions. I don't know whether you have something to say, or if Nick, you have some questions for Owen that maybe you thought of before the episode that you wanted to ask. Whatever you want to do, let's kind of jump to that.
Honestly, if there's anything you want to share about your life, Owen, that you want the viewers to know, anything. But I think we're at a good point because we always got more Owen Speaks episodes coming.
Exactly. And I think I really like this. I like the dynamic we got going on here. You know what I mean?
Shout out to Thinking Wealthy and other people behind the scenes.
Owen Speaks.
Owen Speaks.
But just one last thing. So we talked a lot about utility today, but also you got to look at who's building the business, because I said earlier, you want to know if the developers suck. You want to know if the people have worked for Google before, if it's just a dad who's running the whole thing,
right?
Things like that. So
right. So a good manager and person that's behind the scenes there is a big part of it, right?
Yeah, because art is important. That's what attracts you and what makes you want to buy in. But to keep you in, art is the management.
Oh, and I kind of want to ask one more thing, just because low-key I completely forgot to ask because I thought about it earlier.
Go ahead.
So you said with like kind of like the people who run it and manage it, right? Are these people like in charge of kind of growing it? Like, are they promoting it more? What separates a good manager of a project from a bad one?
Mm-hmm.
Like, are the good ones like good at promoting it and putting it out to people so it increases in value, or is it more just kind of like, I don't know, random, just that they worked with Google and they understand code a lot?
Yeah, so for me, I like, one thing that makes me comfortable with a project is when anyone in the team really is like active in the Discord. Okay, so you can ask a question and the owner might even respond. That's really cool, right?
Yeah.
Two, one of the most popular ones is called World of Woman. That's priced at like 8 Ethereum right now, but it was just at 10, so that's like $27,000.
Wow.
That one was featured in the Rolling Stone, so the Rolling Stone wrote an article about that project. Wow. So that's one thing that they did.
Right.
But like networking and like being invited to these events, like Adidas just had something for NFTs where they put like a Bored Ape. They had a Bored Ape with like an Adidas like track jacket.
Oh, okay. So like crossovers with companies. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So I think that definitely, like, to me also, I'm like, I want if I'm gonna put my money in one of these projects, I want them to be like figuring out the new things, like, right? I want them to be at the top edge. I want them to be looking at the ways they can push NFTs further, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like that's kind of a good way to look at it, right? Like, just like who's pushing them farther,
right? And what they're doing.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. All right. So I think I'm like I said, I'm tuckered out of questions. I got nothing left.
I got nothing left really to cover. I feel like we got a really good beginner scope of NFTs right now.
For real. I feel like right now, I don't know about the viewers, but for me, like I could tell someone now about the basics of an NFT.
Like that's plenty of information to get started with. Like, this is good.
And I definitely am interested. So I think that's really it. I'm done. I'm out.
All right, guys. Thank you for having me.
No, bro. 100%.
Thank you for being on the. Yeah, dude. Thank you. We appreciate
honestly
this.
One of my favorite episodes so far to record.
Heck yeah, man.
It's been fun to have a conversation, and I hope all of you guys learned a bit this week. I know it's a longer episode, so maybe you gotta chunk it up into 2 parts throughout the week or something. But it's only about an hour long.
Yeah.
So
hopefully you know what an NFT is and why you should care.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. NFTs and why you should care.
NFTs and why you should care. So I hope you guys enjoyed. This was episode 9. NFTs and why you should care, and Owen speaks, bro.
Owen spoke.
Let's get it. Owen has spoken. So hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you all later.
Go have some greatness this week. Go do something amazing with your life, and go tell people about the podcast. That's how we grow.
That's how we grow. Tell them about Owen speaking.
Yeah, greatness for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
100%. All right. We'll see you guys.
Peace.